Right now it is time for This Week in the Lakeville Journal, a time where we bring in not only Janet Manco, but John Constant, who is the editor, and we say hello to the John and Janet Show. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you both?
Good.
Good.
We're very close to your next event here, Janet, coming up.
Yes, that's right. The Salisbury Forum is coming up on tomorrow night. And that's at the Hotchkiss School, and it will be a fascinating discussion about the future of journalism in America.
And you know, when I was talking with Brian Ross today, I asked him if he could ask a question for me for that night, because I can't be there. And that concerns Vice, which, by the way, I think is one of the best news outlets around.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Possibly getting some funding from Saudi Arabia. And so I just wanted him to, to ask to me, what they do is so important that I can overlook that, and I want
well,
just.
Well, their original owners, I have to jump in.
Yeah.
Have sold their interests, so it's.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a great service, and I think it's great that I can get a question answered by having the moderator do it for me.
Well, that's one of the great things about the Salisbury Forum. I was actually going to mention this tomorrow night, which is, the speakers are fantastic. Panels like this are amazing, but the questions that come at the end are always excellent. They really are, and really keep the discussion going. Yeah. We're so fortunate in this area with our audiences.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go to the front page here, and there's a story about the Sharon Hospital Roundtable. A handful of people, because COVID and everything like that, and that is breaking on the heels of the New York State study done by USA Today that revealed some of the salaries and the bonuses that were paid to Nuvance Health during the crisis. Where I guess it's 7 Nuvance employees, all making over $1 million in salary and bonuses during that span. But you've got a story on what happened in North Canaan with the CEO.
We covered a round table at Gear Village that was one of the first ones in a while to be open to the public to attend, and it was going to be a limited audience of 20 people because of the space, but it turned out that really just drew a handful of people, only one of which, as we can tell, was not connected to either the press or the hospital or Gear. So it's a bit of I'm not sure what it means that so few people came out. The same questions keep coming up about labor and delivery and intensive care unit cutbacks. The hospital responded, of course, that Christina McCulloch, the president, that they are going to continue to try to apply for their exemption to end labor and delivery and remake the intensive care unit into a progressive care unit. There just weren't very many questions, one of which was about the number of transfers from Sharon to other medical facilities, and there were no numbers given. Dr. Marshall only said it's small but not insignificant. So we're facing a situation here where it seems like Sharon Hospital is holding a public forum. Almost nobody comes, and the next step on this is going to be a public hearing for the Office of Health Strategy to decide what to make of their plan. So that's what that story's about.
Yeah, and that'll be 2 separate hearings, as a matter of fact, because there are two separate issues before that department. Well, you've got a great picture right next to that, the 1st Litchfield Artillery Regiment, and a story by Patrick Sullivan on the remembering of the victims of 9/11.
Yes, on 9/11, they started out very early in the morning raising a very large flag opposite the church there, right at the intersection of Route 7 and 44. And they brought out the cannons. The 1st Litchfield Artillery Regiment fired a cannon right at the time of the first plane going in to the Twin Towers, and then again when it went into the second one at 9:13 a.m. They read the names of all the victims, which took a while, and then they commenced to read all the names of the service members killed in the line of duty since 9/11, and that was more than 7,000 names. So it took a long time.
You know, I give a lot of credit to the Canaan Fire Company. They took over as sponsor for that event and kept it going right across the street from where they are at the corner. So kudos to the Canaan Fire Company to make sure that tribute continues on 9/11 every year. Also on the front page, it's that time of year. Maria Horn and Chris DuPont vying for the 64th seat, and they are identifying their top issues.
Yes, Maria Horn and Chris DuPont were interviewed to sort of get an idea what's on their minds, and Horn's top priorities are rural health. And, that was a reference both to nuance and the ending of the hospital, as well as the issue that came out of the Supreme Court this summer with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Environmental concerns are on her plate, especially focused on composting, trash removal, digestion of waste, transportation of waste, and just all around ways of dealing with our solid waste. This is becoming a bit of a highlight because the trash to energy plant in Hartford was closed in July, and so she's been on this. And then another one is broadband, which for the northwest corner still remains an issue. DuPont focused a little differently on issues of affordability, public safety, local control. What he was getting at there is affordability in terms of taxation. There's a tax on prepared food he doesn't like, diesel fuel tax he doesn't like, as well as a overall sales tax. And then there's the 2023 upcoming heavy truck tax that the legislature passed that is going to have an impact. So that was a walk-up. Hopefully, September 29th, they are scheduled at Hussey to have a debate. And
so we go. Of course, there are only two of the other. We have the state senate seat that is also coming up with two new candidates this year as well. Move on to a story, and Sam Waterston just is amazing. He just doesn't seem to age. There's got to be a picture somewhere where Sam is aging in a painting. But part of your celebration of 125 years was the film The Killing Fields, and on September 10th, you had not only Sam Waterston, but also Richard Schlesinger speak from CBS, and once again, people able to ask questions.
Yes, it was a preview to the film, or walk-up to the film, which was aired, of course. And the film, The Killing Fields, is a 1984 biographical epic of two journalists covering the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. And Sam Waterston was interviewed by Schlesinger to sort of pull out his response to how it feels now, years later. Did the movie change anything? They both also waxed a lot about Dith Pran, who the story is about him as a photojournalist in Cambodia, who then came to the United States and eventually was a photographer for the New York Times. The film also has an interesting anecdote to it, which is that first-time actor played Dith Pran in the film and won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Well, I think it's one of the nice events that have gone along with the celebration of 125 years of the Journal. And once again, the next one is coming up very, very soon. it's funny. I have a physical therapist whose son plays football, and the Housatonic Co-op football team is going into action, and you've got the Housatonic volleyball team opening their season. It's good to see the sports teams back in action.
Yes, and I love to put high school sports on the front page. Hunter Lyle is one of our correspondents who covered this game last Friday, and it was a little bit of a lopsided loss as an opener on the home field. But Hunter gives it a nice play-by-play and talks about what the season's looking like, interviews some of the players, and they have 16 more games to go. He also has a couple of really nice shots. He's a very good photographer. A couple of nice photos of the game.
All right, and emissions testing is back. The equipment has arrived and the people are trained, and once again, we don't have to travel far to get our emissions done.
Yes, I know. I've been monitoring this personally because I am a Canaan resident, so I go by there at Northwest Auto a lot. And Richmond Sherlock has been, ever since Arnie's garage ended the testing, has been in line by the DMV to get this, and he's had to get the equipment installed, and then the other bigger challenge really was finding an employee, someone to run the equipment, and then get that person certified. So that's all happened, and as of Monday, they were taking customers for emissions.
All right, and I want to plug this because it's coming up on Sunday. The Little Guild is holding a charity tennis exhibition that is happening at 3 p.m. at the Sharon Country Club. I wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, it's on Saturday, actually, I think, September 7th.
So there's that. I want to turn to your coverage of the biggest little fair around, and that is the Cornwall 30th Ag Fair.
Yes, this fair has been in existence for 3 decades now on the town green, and it was sponsored by the Cornwall Agricultural Advisory Commission. Bill Deneen and Wendy Kennedy are the chairs, and it was a great event. They had beautiful weather, like a lot of these weekend events have had lately. So there were cows, sheep, alpacas, chickens. We also have worth taking a look. We have a really wonderful video by Riley Klein, including showing chickens being blessed and people enjoying themselves. This is also I'll mention that there's the Taconic Garage, the Grange rather, Taconic Grange is going to have a new program that will offer a scholarship to certify for a new EMT trainee.
All right, and on the same day in Cornwall, the Open Studio Day. Nice picture of Robert Parker there.
Yes, and this is another sort of long-standing, weekend event, the Open Studio Day, and it allows everyone to sort of wander around and get into the space where the artists do their work. So Robert Parker obviously was featured in the photo on this page, but there were also we had David Colbert, who actually created this event 15 years ago, and his studio was open. Richard Griggs, Sally Van Doren, Tim Prentice. So it was really a wide experience for anyone who was wandering around. The line for Tim Prentice's barn studio, created almost a traffic jam. It was a narrow road and lots of people trying to get in. And then there was Potter Susan Fox, who was also part of this event.
I want to move on to an important story that puts a lot of people's minds at ease, and that is a story by Deb Alexandris on the test results from algae in Twin Lakes, revealing that there is not a threat now to people or pets at that lake.
Right. Fortunately, the testing came back really with there's no toxicity to worry about, and this was done by, this was shown to be well below Connecticut Department of Public Health thresholds. Deb Alexenis has done a nice job of explaining how these toxins work and how they, in this case, do not pose any threat to anybody or pets. And then also explains that these things are naturally occurring. The blue-green algae, they look pretty horrible, and they're really triggered to more dangerous levels by several conditions, including low water levels, and we've had that this year.
Interesting story by Patrick Sullivan, the Planning and Zoning Commission. The viewshed request in front of them received no traction, and some other important things that happened at that meeting.
Yes, this meeting focused on a couple of things, and one of them was a request by several people, to consider preserving a view from the road, on the Taconic Road, that has been cherished for years by people, and they do not actually have ownership of that land, but they are asking the commission to consider preserving some view part of it. There was a lot of agitation around this meeting. Sometimes small land use meetings can get this way, and there is also a letter to the editor on this, which really describes the residents' disappointment at the way this was handled.
All right, you've got a pretty big story on, once again, in Salisbury by Deb, on the projects that are close to wetlands, the many projects that are being considered.
Yes, this is a kind of a look at what's happening in a big parcel. Well, it's big; it's 14 acres, but a parcel of land that is, close to wetlands. And this was a subject of quite a few stories not too long ago. There's an LLC called 145TR LLC. Jeffrey Keenan is a managing member of that LLC, and there's an application here to construct a new single-family dwelling, barn, pool, and a bunch of other improvements on a 2-acre buildable envelope. So Deb goes into a lot of detail, really, on how the Inland Wetlands Watercourses Commission reviews this application and all the questions they pose. This covers really 2 whole meetings, the first of which asked that the town engineer weigh in, and he did. So this story sort of follows up. At the end, they approved the plan. It goes on to planning and zoning next. There are some provisions in it, but land use is a big deal, and we want to continue to keep covering it in as much detail as we can.
All right, we only have about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to quickly pop over, and Janet will talk about the opinion and editorial section.
Great. We have a lot in the paper this week, so the readers don't miss it all. We editorialize about one of the municipal projects happening in our towns right now, and it's the new sidewalks being constructed in Kent. It's really a good study in how a project should go once it starts. There's been years of discussion about these sidewalks, and the implementation has meant that it's happening at a time when there are some supply chain issues, and they hadn't been able to get exactly the kind of granite they wanted from where they wanted. But it's happening, and it's being carefully scrutinized by the committee in town and the people in town, and discussion ongoing, so that the $500,000 state grant being used to build it will be put to good use, and they'll end up with really good sidewalks. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. We've been writing about it, and it's a good model for other towns in the area as they take on projects. We have multiple letters, as always, and some really interesting ones. Especially don't miss the one on the planning and zoning hearing in Salisbury. There was a small group there who was disappointed in the outcome. Keep a close watch on that. And we have Peter Riva on families' food budget woes, and Helen Klein Ross on a book for tweens by Claire Nader.
And like the cartoon, a storage issue.
That's right. It's amazing what a simple visual can do, but Peter Steiner finds a way to bring it all home with a few lines.
And a couple of minutes now for our the Tri-Corner calendar and the Lakeville Journal section on the Arts and Entertainment Compass.
And so we do have a really fun story by Lance Christensen on a rare Italian Corvette from Carol Shelby. Don't miss that. It was at Lime Rock Park over Labor Day weekend. There's an exhibit coming up by Christopher Pooler on seeing refugees with compassion and empathy. That's at Salisbury School through November 20th. And Caitlin Lyle, our former reporter in Millerton, who's now at Hearst, is still writing for us when something strikes her fancy. And this time it's Stanley Tucci's Taste, a book on his explorations of the world through cuisine. And anyone who saw his series on CNN, Traveling Through Italy, will know that this book is a really good read. If you like food and Italian food and Stanley Tucci, by all means, read Caitlin's review and get the book.
All right, and that's just some of what you'll find in the Lakeville Journal and Millerton News this week. Of course, the paper is available for home delivery or pick up at newsstands throughout the area, and also on the web at tricornernews.com. Thanks, guys. We'll speak to you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Lakeville Journal, available once again online at tricornernews.com. You can hear this show rebroadcast at robinhoodradio.com. Click on demand. Click on This Week in the Lakeville Journal.